Hi everyone. The book that I chose to highlight for this week's unit is Engineer Ari and the Sukkah Express by Deborah Bowden Cohen. I know that Engineer Ari and the Rosh Hashanah Ride is on the PJ Library list. I'm not sure about this one. I picked this particular book for a couple of reasons. First of all, the illustrations are simple but very cheerful, and I think that helps enhance the storytelling experience. There's a mystery in the story, and I think children love a good mystery. I would really play up the missing sukkah toward the end of the story. I love the fact that it takes place in Israel. There's a repetition of vocabulary in the story, which I think is very developmentally appropriate for kindergarten-aged children. As I had stated in my written book review, I love the fact that one of Ari's fellow engineers, Jessie, is a woman, and that there's a really nice collaboration amongst the three engineers in the organization and the building of the sukkah, and that the gender is completely irrelevant. I think that's great. There's a very, very nice review of the symbols of Sukkot throughout the book. And personally, what I would do is I would read this story well into the unit on Sukkot. I don't think I'd start off with it. As far as some of the major concepts that this book would help address, you could do something on the temporary versus permanent concept in terms of the temporariness of a sukkah as opposed to a house or another building. And as far as the Jewish values to be highlighted, we have Hachnasat Orchim, obviously welcoming guests. It's perfect for Sukkot. But we also could introduce the value of Dibuk Chaverim, cleaving to friends, as well as Gemilut Chasadim, acts of loving kindness. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to read this story and just show you how I would read it to the children and help them interact with it, and then talk about it a little bit when I'm on the other side. Okay, so Engineer Ari and the Sukkah Express. Boker Tov, good morning, Engineer Ari called to his friend Jessie. It's time to build our sukkah. There's Engineer Ari. Do you know what this is? It's called a pomegranate, and it has absolutely delicious seeds that you eat up. And the pomegranates are all over Israel. Engineer Ari breathed in the crisp autumn air. It was the morning after Yom Kippur. Do you remember we talked about Yom Kippur? That's the last holiday that we talked about. That's the holiday where we say, I'm sorry for things that maybe we weren't so proud of what we did. Good morning to you, answered Jessie, coming out of the house. But where is Nathaniel? He is so handy with a saw and hammer. We need his help. Can you find Nathaniel? Where is he? Here he is. Just then Nathaniel arrived carrying his toolbox. I'm ready, he said. Let's go down to the railway station. When the workers finish the tracks, they left behind some wood that will be perfect for our sukkah. What a great idea. They're going to use some leftover wood. That way nothing goes to waste. At the station, the three engineers sorted through the woodpile and carried pieces of lumber back to Ari's courtyard. Ari steadied the ladder, while Jessie held the boards for Nathaniel to nail together. As the frame took shape, the three friends stood back to admire their handiwork. Now we need branches for the roof and fruit for decoration, said Jessie. And a lulav and etrog to shake in the sukkah, added Nathaniel. Don't worry, answered Ari. I'm driving the train to Jerusalem tomorrow, and I have an idea. What do you think Ari's idea is? Well, I guess we'll find out. The next morning, Engineer Ari chug-a-lugged out of Jaffa Station. You know what? Let's all make the chug-a-lug sound, okay? We'll do this with our arms like the train wheels going round and round. Here we go. Chug-a-lug, 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 chug-a-lug. Good job. Since the railway opened, he had made many new friends along his route. There's the train. He stopped his engine in an olive grove. His new friend Hadass was tending the trees. Here's all the trees. And in an olive grove, that's where they grow olives. What kinds of things do we do with olives? Well, we can eat them, right? Raise your hand if you like olives, okay? There are green olives, there are black olives, there are olives with pits, there are olives without pits, right? We can also make olive oil out of olives. There's lots of stuff. Do you have branches that I could use for the roof of my sukkah, he asked her. Plenty, answered Hadass. Take as many as you need. Remember, a sukkah's roof needs to be thick enough to keep out the rain, but thin enough to see the stars, finished Engineer Ari with a wink. Thank you, Hadass. Toda Rabbah. Toda Rabbah is how we say thank you in Hebrew. Can we try that? Let's try to say Toda Rabbah together. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Toda Rabbah. Now you know how to say thank you in Hebrew. Good job. And look, she gave him a whole armful of wonderful, wonderful branches that he's going to be able to put on the roof of his sukkah. Engineer Ari's train chug-a-lugged further down the tracks. You ready? Here we go. Chug-a-lug, 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 chug-a-lugged. He braked at a vineyard. Could you spare a few grapevines? Ari asked his new friend Arava. I'm decorating my sukkah. Look, the vineyard is a place where they grow grapes, and there are beautiful grapes up here. And Ari has asked his friend Arava for some. And look, she's so nice. She says, I will cut them for you, Ari, she answered. These vines will make your sukkah as beautiful as the harvest. Thank you, Arava, said Engineer Ari. Toda Rabbah. Can we all say that together? 1, 2, 3. Toda Rabbah. Good job. And the harvest is just a fancy way of saying that after the food is grown, we pick it when it's ready to be eaten. At midday, Engineer Ari chug-a-lugged into the Jerusalem railway station. You ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Chug-a-lug, 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 chug-a-lugged. And here's the railway station, and there's a sign here that says Jerusalem. While the workers unloaded the train's cargo's just all the stuff that the train's carrying to bring to Jerusalem, he hurried to the city market to find his friend Tamar, who worked there. And I don't know if you can see, but at the city market in Jerusalem, people set up their stands, and there they can sell all kinds of things that they grow and that they make. And that's one of the really nice things about being in a city like Jerusalem, because there are lots of things that you can get there. So let's see if Ari can find his friend Tamar. There she is. Here's a lulav and etrog for you, she said. We shake them in all directions to remind us that God is everywhere. Engineer Ari smelled the sweet etrog and admired the lulav's palm, myrtle, and willow branches. Thank you, he said, leaving the market. Toda Rabbah. What did he just say to his friend? He said, thank you. And look, you can see all of the beautiful lulavs lined up. And here are all the etrogs. And she gave him one of each. Engineer Ari headed back to Jaffa, where Jesse, Nathaniel, and Ari finished building and decorating their sukkah together. It's starting to come together, isn't it? Look at the nice decorations. And look, 3 train engineers, and the decorations they put up are some paper cutout trains. What a great idea. And here's some more of the pomegranates that we were talking about earlier. Okay, here's the real ones, and here's some paper ones that they're putting up. Can we count the paper ones that they have up so far? Here we go. Here's 1, 2, 3. So far there are 3 paper pomegranates up. Okay. As the sun set, they celebrated the first night of the holiday with their neighbors. And look, there's a lot going on in this picture. Ari and Jesse are there with all of the neighbors together. And look at this picture. Can you tell me if you see a mitzvah going on? Remember we were talking about the different mitzvot that you can celebrate, that you can fulfill during Sukkot. So what's one that you see going on here? That's right, they're sitting. Sitting in the sukkah is a mitzvah. That's an easy one, right? What else do you see? They're eating and they're drinking. Those also are 2 mitzvot that you can do while being in the sukkah. And here's the lulav and the etrog sitting here. Those are the ones that Ari got from Jerusalem, from his friend. Engineer Ari was tired but happy. Through the branches on the sukkah's roof, he saw the full moon and the twinkling stars. The stars reminded him of all his new friends along the railway. Engineer Ari's expression turned sad. Can you show me what you look like when you're sad? Yeah, kind of like a frown on our face, right? What's wrong? Asked Jessie. On Sukkot, we welcome friends to our sukkah, explained Ari. Tonight our neighbors joined us, but our new friends up and down the tracks live too far away. I wish they could have been here with us. It makes me feel bad that Ari's sad. He's got this beautiful sukkah, but he wants to celebrate with all his friends. The next morning, Engineer Ari walked outside to eat breakfast in the sukkah. But the sukkah was gone! Not even an olive branch was left where the sukkah had stood the night before. He searched the courtyard. This is unbelievable. Finally, he saw a note nailed to an orange tree. Can anybody read what the note says? Right, it says, "Come to railway station, surprise waiting." And it's signed Jessie and Nathaniel. What is going on? As Engineer Ari ran toward the station, he saw a crowd gathering. "Have you seen Jessie and Nathaniel?" he asked. "Our sukkah is missing." Everyone pointed to the train yard. Well, I guess everybody kind of knows what's going on here. Everybody except for Ari. Jessie and Nathaniel stood on the stairs of Ari's bright red engine. Behind the boiler car was the sukkah. "Last night you made a wish," explained Jessie. "You wished we could invite all our new friends up and down the tracks into our sukkah. Now we can. Should we call it the Sukkah Express?" laughed Nathaniel. What a nice thing they've done for him. Engineer Ari put his arms around Jessie and Nathaniel. Look, the 3 friends are hugging. It's nice to give somebody a hug when they do something nice for you. He called out at the crowd. He looked out at the crowd and called out, "Hop aboard the Sukkah Express. Toot, toot." Everybody do that. Can you pull down on the cord? Toot, toot. The crowd climbed onto the train, carrying lulavs and etrogs. Children hung fruit from the sukkah's roof. Engineer Ari tugged the whistle cord. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. Toot, toot. Good job. He pulled back the throttle, and the Sukkah Express chug-a-lugged out of the station. Here we go. Chug-a-lug, 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 chug-a-lugged. It was a time to celebrate with friends, new and old. And that's our story. So at this point, what I would probably do, the first thing I would do, is take out a map of Israel, and the students and I together would trace Ari's route from Jaffa to Jerusalem, and maybe try to imagine where those stops are along the way, and maybe even come up with a couple of other stops that train route may take. As far as questions that I would ask the students, if you wanted to address the temporary versus permanent aspect, I would probably at this point say, okay, everybody look up. What do you see? Well, you see a roof, right? And it's a solid roof. Can you see the sky? Can you see the moon or the stars or the sun? No, why not? Because we're in a building. We're in a school right now, and this is a solid building. But when we're in a sukkah, we're able to do that because the sukkah is something that is temporary. Could we lift the whole school up and move it and put it onto a train car? No, we couldn't do that, but we could do that with a sukkah because it's temporary and it's built only so that it could last, so to last long enough to make it through the end of the holiday. As far as the Jewish values questions, even more importantly, for Hachmasat Orchim, I would probably ask why it was so important to Ari that he celebrates Sukkot with his faraway friends, and maybe take it a step further and ask, if a new student came into your school, what would you do to make them feel happy and welcome? As far as Dibuk Chaverim or Gemilut Chasadim, we could go into the idea of friendship and what is a friend and who are your friends, what do different friends do for each other, what did Jesse and Nathaniel do for Ari, and how did they come up with this incredibly clever way of making his wish come true. So just as a note, the names Hadass, Arava, and Tamar, which are the names of the friends of Ari that he has met up and down the tracks, happen to stand for the 3 different branches that make up the lulav. So it's a very, very clever way for them to get the vocabulary in. And taking it a step further, if you count the number of times that the names Hadass, Arava, and Tamar appear in the story, you will learn the number of myrtle, willow, and palm branches that make up a lulav. So I think for that I'd have to gauge whether or not my students would be able to integrate a concept like that and decide whether or not to take it that far. So thank you so much for listening to my story, and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.